Welcome to Money Shots. It is the Masters edition. Apologies, no Megan today, as you guys know. She had way too much fun in New Orleans last weekend, so she's going to be back Friday to talk some MLB. But today I've got two special guests. We got one familiar Barstool face, Brian Banks. Brian's our golf writer here at Barstool, and he so kindly offered to join us today to talk about the best tournament in golf. He's also got an awesome betting preview, all 91 golfers out right now on the Barstool blog. And he even teaches you how to correctly pronounce amateurs. You guys, I'll make sure to retweet that blog after the show. And to the right of me, we got John Rathouse, PGA caddy, big contributor for the Caddy Network. Shout out to our mutual friend, Aaron Fleener, for setting this up. John has a laundry list of shows he's involved in, but most notably, and one of the things you guys are going to care about, that's right, gambling, the Caddy Line, where they talk about weekly PGA Tour outright winners. Welcome, gentlemen. This is Money Shots. And while some of you may be new here today, no, it's not what you think. This is a show where we're actually taking shots with our hard-earned dollars. And if you guys don't know Megan, she came up with the name. I'm not that creative. So welcome in Brian and John.
It's a goddamn pleasure to be here. It's Masters Week. No better week. I mean, we wait all year. I've been tracking futures for this the entire, California swing, Florida swing, and it's finally here. It's finally here, and the GOAT's playing. What's better than that?
That is very true. The GOAT is playing. We'll talk to him here in a minute. John, give yourself a little shameless plug so everybody knows who you are.
Well, yeah, Kelly, there's only one other place I'd rather be right now, but this is really great of you to have me on. It's such a cool week, and, the Caddy Network, we're covering it all week long. Follow us on the social.
A whole different beast when it comes to gambling. Not is it the most gambled on event in sports, but we rarely see winners outside the top 30 world rankings even get to attempt to put on that green jacket. But we are going to have some long shots here towards the end of the show. Also, there's never a repeat winner. I think the last time Tiger did it, I was in high school, and no age jokes about that one. Okay, guys? And of course, John Rahm is the betting favorite this year, but the favorite rarely wins it. I'm going to be looking for a couple things in terms of betting this week. And then we'll get into the two guys who know golf way more than I do. Recent course form. I want to see how these guys have previously played Augusta National. That is one of the most important. And then you guys know, if you follow Money Shots, one of my favorite things across all sports is sifting through those narratives, right? When people zig, I zag, and that means I'm going to be looking to bet against a couple big name guys and maybe even the world's current number one in matchups this week, because I think you're going to be paying a ton of premium. John, I'm going to start with you here. As part of the Caddy Network, I'm sure you just get overloaded with texts this week. But I'm curious, personally, what you're looking for in terms of betting. There are just so many bets available out there. We've got outright winners, which I think is so hard. We have matchups. We have make, miss the cut. We have a ton of prop bets over at the Barstool Sportsbook. Tell me which are your favorites to bet and why.
Yeah, do get a lot of text this week. It's awesome to track it. You certainly have to look at guys' form coming in here, how they've played here before. All sorts of bets, fun to make. I think the top 10 bets are really cool. I love the outrights always. The make-miss cuts are interesting, especially at Augusta National. Such a thin line. And I was looking at some of these like low Canadian. My favorite bet that I found on the Barstool Sportsbook this week is the low Canadian bet. And so I'm all over that one. So many cool ones. There's some cool prop bets out there too.
All right. Well, since you brought it up, who is your low Canadian?
Right. So there's only three to choose from this week. You've got Corey Connors, Mackenzie Hughes, and Mike Weir, former Masters champion. We're going to take Mike out of it. He probably not hit it far enough these days. Corey Connors, minus 200, low Canadian. Now, Corey's trending lately. He's finished 35th, 26th, 11th his last three starts. So his ball striking's back. This is his fourth time teeing up at Augusta. He's made the cut 3 of 4 career times, 2 straight top 10s. Mackenzie Hughes, not really playing as well. Has only played here twice, not in as good a form. I think one of the storylines out there this week is the wind, and not many people are talking about it. It's going to be really windy out there out of an off direction. The par fives aren't going to be playing as easy. Scoring's going to be really difficult. So I really like Corey Connors this week, low north of the border.
All right. That's always interesting. These prop bets are just absolutely wild to me. And Brian, you have a ton of these listed on your preview card. And as the resident Barstool gambling nerd, I always have to tell people, practice good bankroll management. I know it pains me, but you have to learn from my mistakes. But seriously, you have a ton of stuff listed on your blog. How do you handicap some of these bets? You have things like top Asian player. How do you even start to begin to break that down?
Well, you pick them. It's a case-by-case basis a lot of times. Sometimes I'm looking for a certain angle as it relates to a certain player. Like, for example, top Asian. Hideki Matsuyama has been on the fritz for weeks now. Didn't play last week. He withdrew. He skipped the match play. He withdrew from the players. So I think he's teeing it up just because he's the returning champion. It's because it's the Masters. You try, you get yourself out there. You only get so many shots at it. So I think he's out there, but he's got a lot of the juice. I believe he's the favorite for top Asian. Sung Jae Im has not been playing as well as he tended to when he came in second here a couple of years ago, and he followed that up with a missed cut last year. So this is really me just looking for an angle on somebody that I can find some value on. And Kanai is somebody who's played this tournament. It wasn't recently, but he played it 3-4 years ago. He made the cut. So at a number like 8-1 there, it's got a little bit of value in my eyes.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's kind of one of my biggest beefs about golf betting is like those of you that follow me know I hate laying like -150, laying $2 the other day on KU just made my skin crawl, especially when they were down 15. So some of these prices I can tend to be a little risk adverse on, but I like that 8-1. I'm looking for those those plus money prop bets. So I'm going to be tailing you guys on both of those. So next up, we're going to talk about Tiger. It's not that I don't like Tiger, but all I've been hearing about all week is Tiger. So I guess we got to talk about Tiger. And as I've mentioned on tons of my shows over the years, Tiger gets a ton of bets. So the bookmakers really have to reflect that in their pricing of their lines. Now, I'm not saying don't bet on Tiger. Just know that you pay a premium to do so. Brian, I'm going to kick it back to you. One of the Tiger props over at the Barstool Sportsbook, round one, total score over under 73.5. We've got Tiger obviously coming off horrific injury. This is his first golf tournament back. I like the under here, but what are you expecting to see from Tiger his first day out?
Well, I think as you try to project what Tiger's going to do in this entire tournament, you have to think that his first day is going to be where he's at his best. He's going to wear down a little bit as this tournament goes on. And 73.5 is, it's 1.5 over par. It's not exactly the lowest number out there. And if he's pretty much even to make the cut, you got to think that first round is going to be one where his performance is going to be at its best. And he's been playing the course. He looks good. All the reports are phenomenal. I would have expected the line to have moved a lot more than it has, to be honest. So that kind of has me on my toes a little bit. I'm not sure what to think of it. But right now I've got him to make the cut. I like that under, and I like him to make an eagle at some point as well. He's plus 250 to make an eagle. He's electric. He knows the course well, and 13 is so gettable for a guy like him. As long as he can get that tee shot in a spot where he can attack the green, he might have a good crack at it.
That's really interesting because I kind of thought the opposite. I was thinking maybe Tiger has a little bit of rust, if you will. Obviously, he's been looking pretty good in the practice rounds, at least what I've seen on social media. John, the best part about what you have is the whispers in your network. Are you hearing anything from any of those guys that you have communications with?
Well, I'll tell you this. I have good reason to believe that he is going to walk to that first tee tomorrow and play. And I don't think that that's real groundbreaking news, but I do think that's going to happen. I like a lot of the points you guys are making. I caught up with Mike Weir's old caddy, Brennan Little. He works for Gary Woodland now on my podcast. And he told me earlier in the week, he just said, out of all his career out there, there's one Tiger impresses him more than anyone in terms of the ability to flip on the switch. He could be home for a month. Now, in this case, he's been home for 16 months, and that's going to be a tough switch to flip. But, I think he's definitely up to it. I think the way the winds are going to be blowing, it's going to play into his hands of having more experience around there as well. So I think it'll be interesting to see how he does. I think he's got a chance to play well. I think he's got a chance to make the cut. I kind of put his ceiling at a top 20, which you can get plus money on. I thought there was an interesting one out there on the Barstool Sportsbook where will he make a par or a birdie on the first hole? And I was like, there is no chance he's going to make a birdie on the first hole, playing into that stiff breeze. You are hoping to make a par on that hole. That green is so nasty. So, you're giving a lot of money away on that one, but I think it's going to be really fascinating to follow Tiger all week long.
Something that somebody tweeted me earlier, John, and this I'm going to throw you for a curveball here, was regarding the weather this week at Augusta. And since you brought up the wind, we keep hearing things about rain. Do you think that that actually favors the greens here if there's a little bit of moisture as opposed to a lot? I mean, are you hearing anything about how fast the greens are, anything that we could utilize in our handicap?
Right. Well, the course was playing really firm and fast to start the week. They did get some rain. That place drains pretty well. I think off the tee, it might be playing a touch longer, but I think on the greens, they're going to be in total control with that sub-air system. So I think they're going to be in control of the golf course, and we're going to see fast greens, those really long drifting putts they're exciting for the patrons. So I think it might play a touch longer than it was going to, but I think it was already a fast course coming into the week.
Awesome insight. All right, we're going to switch over to matchups now. These are what I like to bet week in and week out in terms of golf. This is where I think we can find the most value. This is where you can use that inside information based on injuries, etc. Play with those guys that are playing hot, fade those guys that are not. And so Barstool Sportsbook has two types of matchups. So make sure you guys are paying attention when you're placing your bets. You've got round one, best score, aka round one matchups. And they also have best finishing position, aka tournament matchups. So as I kind of mentioned earlier, there's a couple guys that I might be looking to fade, particularly in round one, and that is Scotty Scheffler. While I love him and he is playing his ass off, I think right now we're paying a little bit of a premium for him. So I'm going to take Tony Finau plus 120 over Scotty and Adam Scott plus 120 over Scotty. Brian, do you think that I'm a little crazy here fading the number one guy in the world?
No, I think you have it exactly right. When you win 3 out of 5 events, it's, there's going to be a ton of value, or not value, value in fading him. His odds are incredibly short. He's moved from somewhere in the mid 30s or so 2 months ago, which I actually got him. I could never say that I expected the kind of run that he's on, but I expected he might get a breakthrough win, and he did. So I'm kind of on the fence here where I don't know where to really go with it, because I've got this great ticket here and I'm rooting for him. But Tony Finau has really been not so impressive the last handful of months. He got that win at Liberty National last fall that I thought might launch him into kind of a higher tier, with these better players that he has the capability of. But he hasn't really backed that up. He's kind of the opposite of Scotty Scheffler. With that said, Tony's played Augusta incredibly well. So, it's one of those things where you've got a lot of different reasons to kind of go with either way with it. And Adam Scott plays this place awesome. He hasn't finished very high recently, but he could, continually makes the cut, finishes around, 20th or 15th or so. And if you're building rosters for something or whatever you want to do, like, he's a guy that you can expect to make the cut.
John, this is a really interesting one, too, because I mentioned Jon Rahm right now is the betting favorite to win the whole thing. So I'm looking at finishing position matchups at the Barstool Sportsbook. And so far, I've only placed one bet. I know I'm going to have a ton more before the day ends, but I kind of wanted your opinion on this one. A good friend of mine, and I think he's a good friend of yours, does a ton of media stuff. And I texted him. I said, who is your favorite to win the Masters? He said, Justin Thomas. I said, I don't know how I feel about that. I'm looking at his current form at Augusta, and it just hasn't been good enough to where I think he can go out and win it. And he said he's a man on a mission. So I am going to lay the minus 114 at the Barstool Sportsbook with Justin Thomas. Do you have any opinion here? And then do you have any tournament matchups that are must bets?
I like Justin Thomas this week. I know a lot of other people do too, which is always what gives you like, oh man, are we all going to hit this ticket? He's got Bones on the bag now for the first time around here. He's going to help him out on the greens tremendously. And with these wins up, he's going to help him leave it in the right spots. He is on a mission. One thing that's interesting about Justin, he's really good around the greens. He's good in the wind, and he's good with his wedges. So he's going to have to lay it up on some of these par fives. He's going to still have a chance to make birdies on those holes. So I really do think Justin Thomas is in store for a good week. I liked your Tony Finau over Scheffler. I really do. I mean, Tony played well last week. He didn't maybe putt well, but he did play well, maybe right in the nick of time. Looking at some other matchups, and I'm a good case for people to make sure you check. Are you betting for the tournament or to the day? I didn't look at that closely, but I do have some guys that I like in that regard. I like Robert McIntyre this week a lot, and you're gonna have to lay a lot of money in this one. It's like minus 195 over Charles Schwartzel, who hasn't made a cut this year. McIntyre finished 12th here last year, 2 top 10s in the majors in the last couple of years. I do have notes here that I think there's value on Finau. I think DJ has kind of come to life here recently, so you can look at him. And then I saw you could get plus money on Will Zalatoris over Patrick Cantlay. And, if you would have asked me a month and a half, 2 months ago, I would have said I love Patrick Cantlay at the Masters. He hasn't played great here, and he has not been playing well recently. Will Zalatoris is hitting the ball better, as good as anyone in the world, and obviously played well here last year.
Yeah, I like both of those as well. This is kind of where I like to get some insight from the golf guys, right? I'm the numbers. I talk to tons of people, and you don't want to skew your opinion too much in regards to golf betting, but to get that kind of insight, hear from the other caddies who's playing well, always great stuff in terms of making your bets. Brian, I know you have 4 round matchup bets on your preview. Give me your favorite from the list. Guys, don't be lazy. Go read his 6,000-word blog, or you can just scroll to the bottom to get his others.
I actually had the tournament matchups on there. I haven't looked through the round 1. I will be dropping a blog in the morning previewing the round 1 matchups. But I couldn't believe my eyes, to be honest, when I saw Jordan Spieth over Shane Lowry. The lines were pretty much even. I don't know if that's moved. I don't know if it was even an error. It's kind of a rat line. I don't know, but with the way that Spieth is played around here, there's a lot of discussion about his form coming in and how he's played here in the past. I think some of the underlying numbers from his performance last week at the Valero Texas Open indicated a player that was playing pretty well tee to green, but he really just putt worse than he did in his entire career. So I think that his game's in better shape than I think the perception is. And I think that's baked into the number a little bit, which, of course, his history here is bringing it back to earth a little bit. But as it relates to a matchup against Shane Lowry, who has no real good history here per se, I like that one a lot.
Yeah, that one is really interesting. It is still minus 114 on both sides at the Barstool Sportsbook. It almost is a little too good to be true, but I can see exactly why it is priced pretty evenly across the board. I'll add that one to my list as well. And this is where I'm going to completely rely on you guys because I almost have zero insight. Dave Koken, a mentor of mine for years, picks these outright winners, I feel like, out of thin air. I'm talking 45-1, 30-1, 60-1, 100-1. I've seen him hit, and I feel like it's throwing darts. And that's because we're asking guys virtually outside of the top 30 to have one of those breakout moments, right? Where they are playing just lights out for 4 whole days. And this is why I'm just not good at it. So, Brian, I'm going to go with you first. I want you to give me your favorite outright for this weekend. And then also, I know you've got one of those long shot winners from your preview. If you could share that with us as well.
Well, first off, my favorite outright is Justin Thomas. I'm right there with John on that. And I guess we're sheep for that. It does seem like everyone's going with him. Exactly what you said about his game should fit this place perfectly. I've picked him 3 years in a row for this. And then having Bones on the bag, like you said, is tremendous. And he's playing practice rounds with a guy who knows this place as good as anybody. So he is my favorite outright. But behind that, Will Zalatoris there at 35-1 is another one for, again, all the same reasons that John said. He's just a tremendous ball striker. He obviously played great here last year. And I've got Bubba Watson down the list there. I think he's always somebody you want to throw a sprinkle on here. He plays a good handful of courses tremendously well. Riviera and TPC River Highlands. He's both won multiple times there. Riviera tends to be a good course when it comes to leaderboard overlap with Augusta National. And he's driving a lot of those numbers by having won Augusta twice and Riviera, I think, 3 times. So him down there at 80-1, his form is not all that great, but when he plays here, there's always a chance that he's going to go off because he's a boomer bust guy.
Your thoughts, John, on Bubba? That's a name I feel like I haven't heard in a while. Now, granted, I don't watch golf every single weekend. A person in my household bets golf every single weekend, so I have certain people to cheer for. But Bubba, that one kind of came out of nowhere from Brian. Do you agree with him that maybe Bubba's worth a sprinkle?
Oh, man, I have a hard time putting a little money on Bubba this week, and only because, you know, two-time Masters champ. Once you know your way around this place, it's worth a ton. And he has actually been playing decently. He got caught up in that playoff with Harold Varner. Was it earlier in the year?
Yeah, that's exactly when he did that is when I put the future on him, 3 months ago, because I figured, okay, he's rounding into form. He's playing as good as he has in a couple of years. Like, this could be an Augusta year for him. Let's get some action now before that number shortens. And then he's played not so great since then.
Right. See, I'm going to be biased on the caddies all the time, right? And I'm not saying caddies win golf tournaments, but Ted Scott's not alone with Bubba anymore. He's over there with Scotty Scheffler, and you see what they're doing. So this week, it's just you're really going to have to be a good, solid team out there. So I'm not on Bubba in that way. I guess I do love JT, like you said. I'll throw another one out there that I really like this week that people aren't on as much, don't know what to do with, is Rory McIlroy. I really think that a lot of the trends support him playing well this week. He's had a top 10 or a top 6 in a major in the last couple of years. He hasn't been playing awesome coming. He's a little bit under the radar. Not super bullish on that, but down the board further, my favorite bet of the week where you can actually make some money is Paul Casey. Ooh. And I don't know what his injury status is. He's withdrawn the last 2 tournaments. That's crazy. He finished 3rd at the Players. He finished top 5 in 2 majors last year. He's got tons of experience here. It feels a little bit like the year Sergio Garcia won, in the sense that somebody that's been knocking on the door for a long time could break through. So I really do like Paul Casey this week. Matt Fitzpatrick is another one that comes to mind. And then just some deep bombs. I mentioned Robert McIntyre earlier. He's at 125-1. I mean, finished 12th last year, 2 top 10s in the majors in the last couple of years at the Open. And Brian Harmon, the year of the dog, is also 125-1, which is kind of funny. He plays good in the wind. He finished 3rd at the Players last year. I don't know. So, it's those long shots don't hit as much here at Augusta. That Paul Casey bet is the one that, and that could be a bust, but I think there's some value there with Paul.
All right, I'm going to open it up to the comments just because every once in a while these guys throw in some interesting points. We haven't talked about Brooks. We haven't talked about Bryson. And we really haven't talked about a couple other guys in the top as far as Cameron Smith goes, Patrick Cantlay, and we haven't mentioned Colin Morikawa. Is there a reason why, Brian, that you think that these guys just don't really have a shot to win it? Are they some of these guys too big of names, maybe some other distractions, recent course form? Because these guys do have a point. I expected to hear more of these famous top 30 guys, if you will.
It's probably a great opportunity to talk about this field as a whole. It's a pretty wide open tournament. There's so many great golfers out there. Morikawa hasn't played lights out recently. Neither is Brooks Koepka, but they're neither playing poorly enough to say like, oh, I'm just going to fade them by any means. There's reasons to back Koepka. If you take away last year when he clearly wasn't himself, 3 weeks after a knee surgery, which is crazy that he, walked this hilly course out there. But he was number 1 in strokes gained tee to green from 2015 to 2020. You take out that year, and he's, from tee to green, one of the best players out there at Augusta. He didn't putt very well recently. I think his last tournament he played, he was towards the back of the field. But putting can flip on a dime. So anybody who were to back him this week, he is kind of flying under the radar, and he's at a number that you haven't seen him at for a major in a while.
John,
yeah, I wouldn't talk.
Sorry, go ahead.
I wouldn't talk anybody out of a Brooks Koepka bet for sure.
Yeah.
Never in a major. I mean, I definitely think he could do it. Cam Smith has been playing as good as anyone in the world. Mm-hmm. You feel like his numbers like a little too inflated or whatever you want to say. Like Cam Smith, and he finished 2nd that one year in 2020, which I'm kind of throwing that one out a little bit. Morikawa, it's always kind of the putting thing, right? Although I do think this week, if the winds are up, ball striking is going to be more of a premium, And then on Bryson, I've got Bryson at plus 140 to miss the cut.
Ooh.
He's got 0 form, no reps, very few reps, and he's never missed the cut here, 5 for 5. So maybe I'm playing with fire, but I just think it's the perfect storm for that streak to end.
So real quick, John, this morning, Max Homa told Big Cat that he was guaranteed to make the cut. He's minus 250 to make the cut. Do you agree? Do you think Max is going to make the cut?
I do. I'll take that. And I know he's a popular bet. I think his game's in a good spot right now. I think he has not played well in the majors in his career, and I think he's learning on it more. And so I do like him this week. He's going to be up for the challenge, no matter how hard it is.
He's a Riviera winner too.
There you go.
Yeah.
All right, Brian, I'm going to let you have your final word here. Give me your best bet for this week and any final thoughts on this tournament.
I'm all over the Bryson plus 140 to miss the cut too, for just all the same reasons, just no form whatsoever. My best bet this week, man, tough to pick one out considering I got this whole, spreadsheet going here.
I love to see the spreadsheet nerds like me. My glasses are over there. I should put them on just for you because that warms my gambler's heart.
Yeah, I actually love Robert McIntyre too. I love him top 10, 9-1. That's one of my favorite finishing position bets. That one's jumping off the page the more that he's talking to me about it. So I love him there. I am on Cam Smith 16-1 to win as well. Yeah, those are probably my two favorite. What's one we didn't talk about here? I tossed in a few on Jordan Spieth, first round leader. Hole in one in the tournament, minus 137.
Ooh, you think there's going to be a hole in one?
Yeah, I think 16 is kind of the one that you're looking for there. That's the one where so many, I don't have the numbers in front of me, but there's been so many there over the years. They toyed around with moving that Sunday pin, I think in 2020 for that Fall Masters. People got real upset by that. I think that was a reaction to that course just getting, dominated by the field that week. They're like, we got to move this Sunday pin because we're giving away too many strokes here. I expect that pin. It was back in that spot in 2021. It'll be back there in 2022, I expect, and we're going to keep our fingers crossed. Hopefully it happens before then, but it's always just a fun prop to have.
All right, John, any final thoughts on this weekend, the greatest tournament in golf, and can you leave us with your best bet?
Well, yeah, I'll give you three others just for fun. There's a guy out there that's playing his first Masters, and people are just learning his name. Cameron Young is going to win a PGA Tour tournament this year. He's minus 120 to finish top 40 this week. He bombs it. He's getting lots of great guidance from different people out there. You can get him at plus 200 to be one of the top three low first timers, which is kind of interesting. Minus 5,000 if you just want to throw money out there that you have. No score of 62 or lower. I do not see the course record being set this week. And how about this one? Fred Couples to miss the cut. Everybody loves Freddie. Minus 278. Has not played at all this year and has not made the cut at the Masters in the last 3 years. He's going to be exposed out there a little bit. I know people don't like to hear that, but I'm just throwing it out there. It's going to be a fun tournament. I think the conditions are going to be really difficult. I think it'll be a fun one to live bet too. I think you might find some great value on Saturday morning, say, before the day gets really tricky, of a guy that made the cut that's in decent form to make a nice push that day and then finish it off on Sunday. So I would, if you're really into betting this thing, I would track some of the live betting this week too. Lots of value out there.
Yeah, you just mentioned the live betting. There is going to be tons of action all weekend long. There is so many bets at the Barstool Sportsbook as we went through so many of them. Don't forget, guys, Foreplay Golf's got a promotion going on right now. There's tons of awesome Barstool golf swag. We've got hats that are pretty much sold out. Sorry, everybody that texts me. No, I cannot get you guys. It ain't a hobby hat. It ain't how do they say it? Either way, I can't get you one of those goddamn hats. I'm sorry. They're been gone. But right now, we have an Unders Club. The only thing I've been asking for forever. But, of course, it's because it's golf. You bet $100 or more, you win a sick hoodie. Just go to the Barstool's exclusive section, opt in, and we just need the score to be minus 12 or better. I like our chances. Thank you to John at Rat House on Twitter, Brian at Barstool Banks on Twitter. Now let's make some fucking money, guys.
Hell yeah.
Let's do it.